Scout Commander Velthari floated in the observation deck of his vessel, watching the small blue planet through the enhanced viewers. His 3 eyes studied the primitive world with mild interest. Earth, the locals called it. Another backwater, planet filled with creatures who barely understood fire, let alone space travel. "Report," Velthari commanded his scanning officer. "Crude chemical rockets, Commander. Nuclear weapons of basic design. Their most advanced orbital stations use simple solar panels and reaction thrusters. Technology level suggests they are at least 400 cycles behind our current standards." Velthari's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. 400 cycles. That meant these humans were still playing with toys while the galactic hegemony controlled over 6,000 star systems. He had seen dozens of worlds like this one. All of them had the same pattern. They thought they were advanced until they met real civilization. Any signs of advanced technology? Hidden installations? Quantum signatures? None, Commander. Standard electromagnetic radiation. Primitive satellites. Their space presence is limited to a few orbital platforms and a basic lunar outpost. No signs they have discovered faster-than-light travel or energy manipulation beyond simple fusion. Reactors. The scanning officer paused and added, "They do have more nuclear weapons than most species at their development level. Approximately 12,000 warheads of various yields. Crude but potentially destructive to their own planet." Velthari dismissed this with a wave of his upper appendage. Nuclear weapons were toys. His ship's shields could absorb the total nuclear output of most primitive worlds without strain. The humans might destroy themselves, but they posed no threat to the hegemony. "Mark the system for Pacification Protocol 7, he ordered. "Standard integration procedure. We will return with a proper fleet in 6 rotations." Meanwhile, far beyond the orbit of Neptune, Captain Lee Jinho stood on the bridge of something the alien scouts had completely missed. The warship Taguk hung in the darkness like a sleeping giant. Its hull was 3 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that no alien database had ever catalogued. "Captain, we're receiving the alien transmission data from our hidden monitors," reported Communications Officer O Seulgi. She worked at a console that looked primitive compared to alien technology, but appearances could be deceiving. Jinho studied the data streaming across his screens. The alien scout ship had spent 2 weeks studying Earth's outer defenses. They had seen exactly what Earth's leaders wanted them to see: old-fashioned chemical rockets, basic orbital stations, technology that looked like it belonged in humanity's past rather than its present. "They took the bait," Jinho said quietly. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Commander Choi Nari, looked up from her station. "They have no idea what we really have, do they?" "None at all," Jinho confirmed. "Send a message to Admiral Park. Tell her the scouts bought our deception completely. They think we're primitives." The message traveled through quantum relays hidden in asteroids throughout the solar system. Within minutes it reached Admiral Park Minji in her command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Colorado mountains. She read the report with satisfaction. 50 years of careful planning were about to pay off. The deception had begun decades earlier when the first alien probe had crashed in the Pacific Ocean. Instead of announcing the discovery, Earth's governments had secretly reverse-engineered the technology. They learned about energy shields, plasma weapons, and faster-than-light communication. More importantly, they learned about the vast galactic empire that would eventually come looking for them. Earth's response had been typically human. Instead of trying to hide or surrender, they prepared for war. But they did it carefully. All advanced research was moved to hidden facilities. Space-based installations were deliberately kept primitive-looking. When alien scouts finally arrived, they would see exactly what Earth wanted them to see. Dr. Kim Hyunwoo had spent 15 years working on the project that created the Taeguk. The ship combined alien technology with human engineering in ways that alien minds would never expect. Where alien ships were elegant and efficient, the Taeguk was brutal and overwhelming. Where alien weapons were precise and sophisticated, human weapons were crude but devastatingly powerful. The aliens think in terms of efficiency, Dr. Kim had explained to Admiral Park during the ship's final design review. They build weapons that use energy carefully. They build ships that are fast and maneuverable. They think warfare is about precision and elegance. And humans? Admiral Park had asked. Humans think warfare is about winning. We don't care if our weapons use too much energy. We don't care if our ships are ugly. We care about destroying the enemy before they destroy us. The Teguk embodied this philosophy. Its main weapons were railguns that fired tungsten rods at significant fractions of light speed. The power requirements were enormous, but the ship's reactor could provide that power. Its armor was layers of depleted uranium and ceramic composites that could absorb incredible punishment. Its engines could accelerate at rates that would kill most alien crews. Everything about the ship was designed to be underestimated. Its hull looked crude and industrial. Its weapons appeared to be simple kinetic systems. Its engines seemed like oversized chemical thrusters. Alien scanners would see exactly what they expected from a primitive species trying to build their first real warship. Back on the alien scout ship, Velthari was already planning his report to the Hegemony Council. Earth would be another easy conquest. The humans had shown no signs of advanced technology. Their weapons were primitive. Their space presence was minimal. A single battle group would be sufficient to force their surrender. Begin return journey. To Hegemony Space, he ordered. Prepare the integration report. This species will require minimal force to pacify. As the alien ship activated its faster-than-light drive and disappeared, sensors throughout the solar system tracked its departure. Hidden monitoring stations confirmed the scout's heading and calculated its destination. Earth now knew exactly where the aliens were going and approximately when they would return. Admiral Park called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Representatives from every major nation gathered in the underground facility. The room was filled with tension as she delivered her report. The aliens have taken our bait completely, she began. Their scouts spent 2 weeks studying our outer system defenses and found exactly what we wanted them to find. They believe we are a primitive species with crude technology. The president of the European Federation leaned forward. How long? Before they return? Our analysis suggests 6 months minimum, 1 year maximum. They will need time to organize a pacification fleet and travel back to our system. The Chinese premier asked the question everyone was thinking. Will the Teguk be enough? Admiral Park's expression was grim. We don't know. The ship represents our best understanding of alien technology combined with human engineering. Our simulations suggest it should be effective against standard hegemony vessels, but we've never faced them in actual combat. What about the rest of our fleet? Asked the American Secretary of Defense. The Teguk is our only completed warship. 3 more ships are under construction, but they won't be ready for at least 2 years. If the aliens return before then, the Teguk will have to face them alone. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's entire defense strategy depended on a single prototype warship and the hope that alien arrogance would lead them to underestimate human capabilities. Dr. Kim spoke up from his position at the technical advisory table. The Teguk has advantages the aliens won't expect. Our weapon systems operate on principles they don't use. Our defensive systems are designed to counter their standard weapons. Most importantly, our crew has trained for scenarios they've never encountered. Captain Jinho and his crew had indeed trained for situations no alien military had ever considered. They practiced fighting while massively outnumbered. They learned to use Earth's asteroid fields and planetary bodies as tactical advantages. They studied every piece of intelligence about alien military doctrine and found weaknesses to exploit. The meeting concluded with orders to accelerate all defense preparations. The Teguk would receive final upgrades and additional crew training. Earth's hidden defense platforms would be armed and ready. Most importantly, the deception would continue. When the aliens returned, they would still see a primitive world ripe for conquest. As the delegates departed, Admiral Park remained behind with her senior staff. She looked at the tactical displays showing Earth's actual defensive capabilities. Hidden weapons platforms around every major planet, stealth fighters in the asteroid belt, the massive industrial facilities on the far side of the moon where humanity built the tools of war. They think we're primitives, she said quietly. Let them keep thinking that until it's too late. Engineer Song Daeho crawled through the maintenance tunnel deep inside the Teguk's engine section. The massive fusion reactor hummed around him, producing more power than most alien ships could even handle. But the aliens would never suspect that because the reactor was hidden inside what looked like primitive chemical fuel tanks. Song had spent 12 years perfecting the deception. Every visible component of the Taeguk's propulsion system looked like an oversized version of Earth's early space rockets. Hidden beneath crude-looking armor plating were gravity manipulators reverse-engineered from crashed alien technology. The ship could accelerate at rates that would tear most vessels apart, but from the outside it appeared to use simple chemical thrusters. "How are the modifications coming along?" asked Captain Yoon Sora as she floated down the tunnel behind him. Song wiped grease from his hands and grinned. "The aliens will get the surprise of their lives. Our acceleration capability now exceeds anything in their database by at least 300%, and it still looks like we're burning liquid oxygen and hydrogen." Captain Yoon commanded Earth's Intelligence Division, and she had been the architect of humanity's greatest deception. For 20 years, she had carefully managed what information reached alien scouts. Every piece of technology they observed had been deliberately chosen to reinforce their assumptions about human primitiveness. "The psychological profile we built of their species shows they suffer from severe technological arrogance," Yoon explained as they made their way back to the engineering deck. "They believe advanced technology must be elegant and efficient. The idea that a crude-looking system might outperform their refined designs is literally incomprehensible to them." This blind spot had allowed Earth to hide its true capabilities in plain sight. The Taeguk's main weapons were railguns that fired solid tungsten rods. To alien eyes, they looked like primitive kinetic weapons. In reality, they could punch through. Energy shields that stopped plasma and laser weapons. The aliens had never encountered kinetic weapons powerful enough to threaten their ships, so their defenses were optimized for energy-based attacks. Specialist Kang Minho was working on the weapons control systems when Song and Captain Yoon arrived. At his station, banks of computers surrounded him, but they were carefully disguised to look like simple mechanical calculators and analog controls. The deception extended to every level of the ship's design. "The targeting systems are performing beyond specifications," Kang reported. "We can track and engage targets at ranges the aliens consider impossible for kinetic weapons. Their ships are designed to fight at close range where their plasma weapons are most effective." Song nodded approvingly. Human weapons doctrine had evolved differently than alien approaches. While aliens preferred precision strikes with exotic energy weapons, humans had always believed in overwhelming firepower. The Taeguk carried enough ammunition to level a small moon, and its power systems could fire continuously for hours without recharging. The ship's development had begun 53 years earlier, when the first alien probe crashed in Earth's Pacific Ocean. Instead of the public announcement many expected, world governments had classified the discovery at the highest levels. Scientists and engineers were quietly recruited for a project that officially did not exist. Dr. Kim Hyunwoo had been a young graduate student when the military approached him. They showed him fragments of alien technology that violated every law of physics he understood. Energy storage systems that could power entire cities, materials stronger than anything in human experience, computers that processed information at quantum speeds. "We need you to understand how this works," the military recruiters had told him. "And then we need you to build something better." The reverse engineering process had taken decades. Human scientists approached alien technology from completely different angles than its original creators. Where aliens valued efficiency and elegance, humans were willing to brute force solutions through overwhelming power and redundant systems. The breakthrough came when Dr. Kim realized that alien technology relied heavily on precise energy management. Their ships, weapons, and defenses all operated within carefully balanced parameters. Human technology could exceed those parameters by simply using more power than aliens considered reasonable. "They build race cars," Dr. Kim had explained to Admiral Park during one of their early design meetings. "We're building bulldozers. Their ships are faster and more maneuverable, but our ship can punch through walls they think are impenetrable." This philosophy had guided every aspect of the Taeguk's construction. The ship's armor was 30 meters thick in some places, far beyond what aliens considered necessary. Its reactors produced 10 times more power than equivalent alien vessels. Its weapons were oversized by alien standards but perfectly matched to their power systems. The crew training had been equally unconventional. Captain Lee Jinho and his officers studied alien military doctrine for years, learning their standard tactics and preferred battle formations. Then they practiced countering those tactics with approaches no alien commander would expect. Alien, fleets fight like dancers, Lieutenant Commander Choi Nari had observed during one training exercise. Everything is coordinated and precise. They expect their enemies to follow the same patterns. And we fight like brawlers, Captain Jinho had replied. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't worry about looking elegant while we do it. The cultural differences went deeper than military doctrine. Alien species that joined the hegemony typically did so after being impressed by superior technology. They surrendered when faced with weapons they could not match and defenses they could not penetrate. The concept of fighting against impossible odds was foreign to most galactic civilizations. Humans, however, had a long history of defeating technologically superior enemies through determination, creativity, and willingness to accept massive casualties. The Taeguk embodied this tradition, designed to win through superior firepower even if it meant sacrificing the elegant efficiency that aliens prized. Engineer Song finished his inspection of the power systems and submitted his report to Captain Jinho. Every system was operating at peak efficiency, hidden beneath layers of deliberate misdirection. The ship's true capabilities remained invisible to any alien sensors. The reactor output has been tested at 400% of design specifications, Song reported. We can maintain that level for approximately 6 hours before requiring cooldown procedures, more than enough time to engage a standard hegemony battle group. Captain Jinho studied the engineering reports with satisfaction. His ship was ready for the coming confrontation. More importantly, the aliens would have no idea what they were facing until it was too late to adapt their tactics. The deception extended beyond the Taeguk itself. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations waited for the alien fleet's return. Asteroid mining stations that were actually weapons platforms, communications satellites that doubled as sensor networks, even Earth's orbital platforms contained surprises the aliens would never anticipate. Dr. Kim had insisted on building multiple layers of misdirection into every system. The aliens will expect some hidden capabilities, he had warned. They might discover our first level of deception, but they won't expect us to have hidden our hidden weapons. The Taeguk's secondary weapons were particle beam projectors disguised as communications equipment. Its defensive systems included force field generators hidden inside what appeared to be simple radar arrays. Even the ship's escape pods were armed with nuclear warheads powerful enough to damage capital ships. Captain Yoon reviewed the intelligence reports one final time before departing for her own command center. Every piece of information suggested the aliens remained completely deceived. Their scouts had filed reports describing Earth as a primitive world with crude technology and limited space presence. They see exactly what we want them to see, she told Song as they prepared to part ways. A species that has barely mastered chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They have no idea we've been studying their technology for 50 years. The irony was that Earth's apparent primitiveness was actually its greatest strength. Human engineers had approached alien technology without preconceptions about how advanced systems should operate. They were willing to build crude-looking devices that outperformed elegant alien designs through raw power and unconventional approaches. As Song returned to his engineering duties, he reflected on the years of preparation that had led to this moment. Thousands of scientists and engineers had worked in secret to give humanity a fighting chance against galactic conquest. The Taeguk represented their best efforts, a ship that looked primitive, but incorporated the most advanced technology Earth could produce. The aliens would return soon, expecting to find a defenseless world ripe for conquest. Instead, they would face humanity's fury unleashed through weapons they never imagined possible. Song smiled grimly as he checked the railgun charging systems one final time. The galactic hegemony was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one you underestimated completely. Fleet Admiral Karthes stood in the command center of his flagship, studying the tactical display that showed the primitive solar system spread before his fleet. 18 capital ships and 47 escort vessels had arrived to claim this backwater world for the hegemony. It was massive overkill for such a primitive species, but the Council preferred overwhelming displays of force to minimize casualties. Scanning confirms the earlier reports, his tactical officer announced. Crude orbital installations, chemical propulsion systems. No signs of advanced energy manipulation or faster-than-light capability. Karthus nodded with satisfaction. Another easy conquest to add to his record. The humans would see the futility of resistance and surrender quickly. Most primitive species did when faced with the hegemony's technological superiority. Open communications with the primary population center, he ordered. Standard integration protocol. The transmission reached Earth's surface within minutes, crackling through primitive radio networks to reach government centers worldwide. The message was delivered in broken human languages, clearly translated by simple computer programs. People of Earth, the alien voice began, struggling with human phonetics. You are being incorporated into the galactic hegemony. Resistance is futile. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated as valued subjects of the Empire. In the underground, command center beneath Colorado, Admiral Park Minji listened to the transmission with her senior staff. Communications officer Osolgi worked frantically at her station, analyzing the alien signal characteristics and preparing Earth's response. They're using standard electromagnetic frequencies, O reported. Their transmission equipment appears to be optimized for their own language patterns. They clearly haven't studied human communication systems in detail. Colonel Bei Ji-hoon, Earth's tactical coordinator, studied the alien fleet disposition on his displays. The massive ships hung in space beyond lunar orbit, arranged in a classic hegemony battle formation. Their scouts had provided detailed intelligence about alien tactics, and the enemy was following their doctrine exactly. 18 capital ships, Colonel Bei observed. They're treating us like a major threat despite thinking we're primitives. That suggests either extreme caution or standard hegemony doctrine for system pacification. Admiral Park made her decision. Quickly, Earth's response would be the first surprise for their would-be conquerors. Instead of the confused babbling the aliens expected from a primitive species, they would hear perfect hegemony standard language delivered with flawless pronunciation. Oseulgi, open a channel using their own communication protocols. Admiral, Park ordered. Let's show them we understand more than they think. The response reached the alien fleet in their own language, spoken with an accent that suggested years of careful study. Fleet Admiral Karthus straightened in surprise as the transmission filled his command center. Greetings, Fleet Admiral Karthus of the Hegemony 4th Battle Group. The human voice began. We appreciate your generous offer of integration, but Earth must respectfully decline. We prefer our independence. The alien commander's three eyes widened in shock. Not only did the humans know his name and fleet designation, but they spoke perfect hegemony standard. That should have been impossible for a primitive species with no previous contact with galactic civilization. How do they know our language? His communications officer asked in bewilderment. How do they know fleet classifications? Before Karthus could respond, the human transmission continued with information that sent chills through the alien bridge crew. We have been monitoring your communications for approximately 53 of our years, Admiral Park's voice explained calmly. We know about your military doctrine, your technology, and your standard conquest procedures. We also know that you have severely underestimated our capabilities. The tactical officer frantically ran new scans of the human orbital installations, searching for hidden technology that might have escaped their earlier detection. The results were disturbing. Energy signatures that had appeared to be simple. Solar panels now showed quantum fluctuations. Communication arrays revealed sophisticated signal processing capabilities. Even the crude-looking space stations displayed signs of advanced material science. Admiral, the scanning officer reported with growing alarm, I'm detecting energy patterns that don't match our earlier analysis. These installations are more sophisticated than they appeared. Karthus studied the new data with increasing concern. Either the humans had somehow upgraded their technology in the months since the scouts' visit, or they had hidden their true capabilities with remarkable skill. Neither possibility was comfortable for a fleet commander who had expected easy victory. "Broadcast. Surrender demand," he ordered. "Inform them that resistance will result in planetary bombardment." The alien threat reached Earth's command centers within seconds, but Admiral Park had expected this escalation. Her response was carefully calculated, to increase alien confusion, while revealing just enough human capability to make them cautious. "Admiral Karthus, we regret that you view our independence as resistance," she replied. "However, we should inform you that your current position places your fleet within range of our defensive systems. We strongly recommend withdrawing to a safer distance before continuing negotiations." The alien admiral's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. Defensive systems? These primitives thought their crude orbital platforms could threaten a hegemony battle fleet. Their weapons were chemical rockets and simple nuclear devices, utterly useless against advanced energy shielding. "Demonstrate the futility of resistance," Karthus commanded his weapons officer. "Target their largest orbital installation with minimum force. Show them what real weapons can accomplish." The alien plasma cannons charged with lethal energy, preparing to vaporize what appeared to be a simple space station orbiting Earth's equator. The shot would be precisely calculated to destroy the target without causing significant collateral damage, a demonstration of hegemony, precision, and restraint. The plasma bolt lanced across space toward its target, a brilliant spear of contained energy that should have reduced the human station to superheated gas. Instead, the energy beam struck an invisible barrier and dissipated harmlessly into space. The station remained completely undamaged, protected by defensive systems the aliens had not detected. "Impossible," breathed the tactical officer. "Energy shielding requires quantum matrix generators. That technology is centuries beyond their development level." Before Admiral Karthus could process this information fully, the human station returned fire. But instead of the crude kinetic weapons or primitive nuclear devices the aliens expected, a beam of coherent particles struck the nearest hegemony escort vessel. The ship's shields flared and failed under the unexpected assault, and secondary explosions rippled through its hull. "Shield failure on escort vessel Varthak," reported the fleet tactical coordinator. "Hull breach in 3 sections. Casualty reports incoming." The human defensive installations throughout the solar system suddenly revealed their true nature. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroid mining stations powered up their railgun batteries. Stealth fighters launched from hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt. Even the crude-looking lunar installations unveiled sophisticated missile systems. But the greatest shock came from beyond Neptune's orbit, where something massive emerged from stealth. The Teguk revealed itself gradually, its active camouflage systems shutting down section by section. 3 kilometers of brutal-looking warship materialized where alien sensors had detected only empty space. "Capital ship contact," the scanning officer announced in a voice tight with disbelief. "Mass approximately 15 times our largest vessels. Power output exceeds safe parameters for known reactor technology." Fleet Admiral Karthus stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The ship was enormous even by hegemony standards, and its energy signature suggested weapons capabilities that should have been impossible for any species at Earth's supposed technology level. "Full defensive formation," he ordered. "All ships, prepare for combat. Signal the Council that our intelligence was severely flawed." Admiral Park's voice reached the alien fleet one final time before the battle began in earnest. Her tone remained calm and diplomatic, despite the circumstances. "Admiral Karthus, we offer you one final opportunity to withdraw from our system," she said. "Earth has no desire for conflict, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Your ships are impressive, but they are not prepared for the type of warfare we have developed." The alien admiral's response was predictable. Hegemony doctrine called for overwhelming force when faced with unexpected resistance. His fleet spread into attack formation, plasma cannons charging for a full assault on human defensive positions. "All vessels engage," Karthus commanded. "Eliminate human resistance immediately." The attack began with a devastating barrage of plasma fire directed at Earth's orbital platforms. But the human defenses absorbed the energy weapons with contemptuous ease. their shield generators powered by fusion reactors that dwarfed anything in the alien fleet. Captain Lee Jin-ho stood on the bridge of the Taeguk as his massive warship bore down on the alien fleet. The main display showed 18 enemy capital ships spreading into defensive formation, their elegant curves and gleaming hulls a stark contrast to his own vessel's brutal industrial design. But appearances could be deceiving, and the aliens were about to learn that lesson in the most violent way possible. "Distance to enemy fleet?" Jin-ho asked calmly. 2 million kilometers in closing, reported Lieutenant Commander Choi Nari from her weapons station. Enemy vessels are charging plasma cannons and deploying in standard hegemony battle formation Alpha 7. Jin-ho nodded grimly. His crew had studied alien tactics for years, memorizing every formation and counterformation in their military doctrine. The aliens were following their textbook exactly, which made them predictable. Predictable enemies died quickly. Chief Engineer Huang, reactor status? Chief Engineer Huang Tae-hyun looked up from his engineering station, where streams of data showed the massive fusion reactors running at levels that would terrify most alien crews. Reactor output at 80% capacity, Captain. All systems operating within acceptable parameters. We can maintain full combat power for approximately 6 hours. 6 hours would be more than enough. Jin-ho had trained his crew for rapid engagements that overwhelmed enemy forces before they could adapt to human tactics. The aliens expected elegant dueling between opposing fleets. They were about to experience something much more violent and direct. "Weapons status?" he asked his gunnery officer. "All railgun batteries charged and ready," Choi Nari reported. "Tungsten penetrator rounds loaded in all main guns, particle beam arrays at full power, nuclear-tipped missiles armed and targeted." The Taeguk carried weapons that no alien military had ever encountered in actual combat. Its main railguns could accelerate tungsten rods to 15% of light speed, giving them kinetic energy that dwarfed most starship weapons. The particle beam arrays fired coherent streams of accelerated matter that could burn through alien armor like acid through paper. Gunnery Sergeant Lim, Marine status? Gunnery Sergeant Lim Ji-won stood at her tactical station, monitoring the ship's internal defenses and boarding preparations. "All Marine units at battle stations, Captain. If any alien vessels attempt boarding, actions, we're ready for them." The alien fleet opened fire first, as Jin-ho had expected. Dozens of plasma cannons discharged simultaneously, sending bolts of superheated matter racing toward the approaching human warship. The display filled with angry red trajectories as enough energy to level cities streaked through space. "Brace for impact," Jin-ho ordered unnecessarily. His crew had trained for this moment for years. The plasma bolt struck the Taeguk's forward shields and dissipated harmlessly into space. The ship's defensive systems had been designed specifically to counter hegemony energy weapons. Layered, gravitational fields deflected the plasma streams while electromagnetic barriers absorbed residual energy. The alien weapons might as well have been flashlights for all the damage they inflicted. "No damage reported," announced Chief Engineer Huang. "Shield generators operating at 12% capacity." The aliens had just expended a significant portion of their first salvo against a target that barely registered the attack. Jin-ho smiled coldly as he gave the order that would begin humanity's real demonstration of military power. "All weapons, open fire." The Taeguk erupted in violence that eclipsed anything the aliens had ever witnessed. 6 main railguns fired simultaneously, hurling tungsten penetrators at targets that had never faced kinetic weapons of such devastating power. The projectiles crossed the distance between fleets in seconds, moving too fast for alien point defense systems to intercept. The lead alien capital ship died instantly as a tungsten rod punched completely through its hull from bow to stern. The kinetic energy transfer vaporized internal compartments and triggered secondary explosions that tore the vessel apart from within. Debris scattered across space as the pride of the hegemony fleet became an expanding cloud of superheated metal. 2 more alien ships suffered catastrophic damage as tungsten penetrators smashed through their energy shields and armor plating. The hegemony had designed their defenses to stop energy weapons, but they had no answer for projectiles that carried the kinetic force of small asteroids. "Target the command ship," Jin-ho ordered, as his weapons crews reloaded with mechanical precision. The particle beam arrays fired next, sending coherent streams of accelerated matter toward the alien flagship. Fleet Admiral Karthus watched in horror as beams of impossible intensity burned through his ship's shields and began carving into the hull armor. Systems overloaded throughout the vessel as energy cascaded through networks never designed to handle such assault. Hull breach on deck 7 through 15, his damage control officer reported. Shield generators offline, primary reactor showing signs of instability. But the human ship was not finished. Nuclear-tipped missiles launched from concealed bays, accelerating toward alien targets with thrust systems that produced more energy than most starship engines. The aliens had point defense weapons designed to intercept conventional missiles, but nothing in their arsenal could stop projectiles that maneuvered like fighters while carrying nuclear warheads. 3 alien escorts disappeared in brilliant flashes as nuclear weapons detonated against their hulls. The explosions were precisely calculated to maximize electromagnetic pulse effects, disabling nearby vessels and leaving them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. Medical Officer Im Yeji worked frantically at her station as the Taiguk shook under alien return fire. The human ship was taking damage despite its superior defenses, and crew members were being injured by system overloads and gravitational stress from the ship's extreme maneuvers. Casualty report from Engineering Section 4, she announced. 3 injured crew members requiring immediate medical attention. Transfer them to Medical Bay 2, Jinho ordered without taking his eyes off the tactical display. Continue the attack. The Taiguk pressed its assault with relentless aggression that shocked the alien commanders. Human military doctrine emphasized speed and overwhelming firepower over the elegant maneuvering that aliens preferred. Where hegemony fleets danced around each other in carefully choreographed formations, the human ship charged straight into the enemy formation like a berserker. They're not following any recognizable tactical doctrine, Fleet Admiral Karthus said in bewilderment as he watched his fleet being systematically destroyed. Their movements are completely unpredictable. That was exactly what Captain Jinho intended. Human tactics had been developed specifically to counter alien military thinking. Where aliens expected careful positioning and gradual escalation, humans delivered maximum violence as quickly as possible. The Taiguk's attack profile was designed to shock and disorient enemy commanders while inflicting catastrophic damage. Concentrate. Fire on the human vessel, Karthus ordered desperately. All remaining ships focus on the primary target. The surviving alien warships turned their weapons toward the Taiguk, pouring plasma fire and exotic energy weapons into the human ship's defensive screens. For a moment, it seemed like their concentrated assault might overwhelm the massive vessel's shields. But Chief Engineer Huang had built redundancy into every system. As the forward shields began to weaken, secondary defensive arrays activated. Gravitational manipulators deflected incoming fire, while electromagnetic fields absorbed energy that penetrated the outer barriers. The Taiguk had been designed to fight outnumbered against technologically advanced enemies. Shield strength at 40%, Huang reported. All backup systems functioning normally. We can maintain defensive integrity for approximately 3 more hours at this rate of fire. 3 hours was far longer than the alien fleet would survive. Jinho's weapons crews had found their rhythm, firing railgun salvos every 30 seconds while particle beams swept through enemy formations like searchlights of destruction. Each shot destroyed or crippled an alien vessel, and the enemy fleet was rapidly running out of functional warships. Enemy flagship is attempting to withdraw, Choi Nari announced as she tracked the alien command ship's movements. They're trying to reach minimum safe distance for faster-than-light jump. Negative, Jinho replied coldly. Target their engines with particle beams. No one leaves until we're finished here. The focused particle beam strikes disabled the alien flagship's propulsion systems, leaving it drifting helplessly as the human warship approached for the killing blow. Fleet Admiral Karthus watched his fleet die around him while his own ship lost power, and life support began to fail. Signal surrender, he ordered his communications officer. Tell them we yield. But Captain Jinho was not interested in accepting surrender. The aliens had come to conquer Earth and enslave humanity. They would learn the price of that ambition in blood and fire. The final railgun salvo shattered the alien flagship's hull and sent Fleet Admiral Karthus to whatever afterlife his species believed in. The Teguk hung motionless in space, surrounded by the wreckage of 18 capital ships and 47 escort vessels. Not a single alien vessel had escaped to carry word of the disaster back to hegemony space. All enemy contacts eliminated. Lieutenant Commander Choi reported, "No survivors detected." The news of the 4th Battle Group's complete destruction reached hegemony space 3 months after the battle. A single automated probe had escaped Earth's outer sensor perimeter during the engagement, carrying fragmentary records of the impossible defeat. When the data reached the Hegemony Council, it triggered the greatest crisis in galactic civilization for over 1,000 years. High Counselor Vex Thanon studied the battle recordings with growing disbelief. The images showed Fleet Admiral Karthus's 18 capital ships being systematically destroyed by a single primitive vessel. Weapons that should not have existed punched through hegemony shields like they were made of paper. Energy outputs that violated known physics powered defensive systems that absorbed the concentrated fire of an entire battle group. Confirm the authenticity of these recordings, Vex Thanon ordered his intelligence staff. This cannot be accurate data, but extensive analysis confirmed what the Council did not want to believe. The humans had hidden technology that exceeded hegemony capabilities in multiple areas. Worse, they had done so while maintaining perfect deception for over 50 years. Every assumption about primitive species had just been shattered by a single, devastating engagement. News of the disaster spread through hegemony space despite official attempts at secrecy. Subject species throughout the Empire heard whispers that a primitive world had destroyed an entire fleet. The psychological impact was enormous. If humans could defeat the hegemony, what did that mean for other conquered peoples? On the mining world of Kethvar, slave workers paused in their excavations to discuss the impossible rumors. The hegemony had always seemed invincible, their technology so advanced that resistance was unthinkable. But if humans could build weapons that overwhelmed alien defenses, perhaps freedom was not as impossible as they had believed. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ambassador Shin Ji-young prepared for humanity's first official contact with galactic civilization. The victory over the 4th Battle Group had fundamentally changed Earth's position in the galaxy. No longer a primitive species ripe for conquest, humans now demanded recognition as equals in galactic affairs. The Hegemony Council has requested negotiations, Ambassador Shin reported to Admiral Park during their strategy meeting. They want to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence. Admiral Park smiled grimly at the diplomatic language. 3 months earlier, the hegemony had demanded Earth's unconditional surrender. Now they were asking for negotiations as equals. The change in tone was remarkable and entirely due to the smoking wreckage of their battle fleet. "What are their opening positions?" Park asked. "They're offering limited autonomy within the hegemony structure," Shin replied. Earth would maintain internal governance while accepting hegemony oversight of foreign policy and military affairs. "Unacceptable," Park said immediately. "We fought to maintain our independence, not to become a protectorate. Counteroffer complete. Sovereignty and recognition of human territorial claims in this star system." The negotiations would take months, but Earth now had the leverage to demand favorable terms. More importantly, other species throughout the galaxy were watching the proceedings with intense interest. If humans could force the hegemony to negotiate as equals, it suggested that the Empire's iron grip on galactic civilization might be weakening. Fleet Commander Ryu Sang-hoon stood in the construction bay, where Earth's second prototype warship was nearing completion. The vessel was larger than the Teguk and incorporated lessons learned from the recent battle. Its weapon systems were more powerful, its defenses more robust, and its engines capable of even greater acceleration. "Construction progress?" he asked the supervising engineer. 87% complete, Commander," Engineer Song Dae-ho reported. "We should achieve operational status within 6 weeks. The 3rd and 4th ships are progressing on schedule as well." Earth was no longer building a single prototype to defend against alien invasion. The success of the Teguk had convinced world governments to authorize a full fleet of human warships. Within 2 years, Earth would possess the most powerful navy In known space, the technological implications extended far beyond military applications. Scientist Jang Yoonji led the team developing civilian applications for the hybrid human-alien technology, fusion reactors that could power entire continents, propulsion systems that would enable interstellar colonization, materials science that promised revolutionary advances in construction and manufacturing. We're looking at a complete transformation of human civilization, Dr. Jang explained to the Research Council. The technology we developed for the Taeguk has applications in every field of human endeavor. We could terraform planets, build habitats in deep space, even attempt faster-than-light travel. But the most significant changes were happening in galactic politics. Other species were quietly reaching out to Earth through diplomatic channels, seeking information about human technology and military capabilities. Some were potential allies interested in challenging hegemony dominance. Others were neutral powers hoping to avoid being caught between human expansion and hegemony retaliation. The Zephyrian Trade Federation sent a secret delegation to Earth just 5 months after the battle. Their representatives arrived in a disguised merchant vessel, claiming to be conducting routine surveys of primitive worlds. In reality, they carried proposals for military alliance and technology sharing agreements. The hegemony has dominated galactic affairs for too long, explained Ambassador Kyle Thera during secret negotiations. Your victory has shown that their technological superiority is not absolute. Many species would welcome an alternative to hegemony rule. Admiral Park listened to these proposals with interest but maintained careful neutrality. Earth was not ready for galactic war against the hegemony. The human fleet was still under construction, and humanity needed time to fully understand and exploit their technological advantages. We appreciate your interest in cooperation, she told the Zephyrian delegation. However, Earth's immediate priority is securing our own independence. We are not seeking to overthrow the galactic order. But the galactic order was changing whether Earth sought it or not. The destruction of the Fourth Battle Group had sent shockwaves through every corner of hegemony space. Subject species began asking dangerous questions about their rulers' military capabilities. Independent worlds started developing defensive alliances. Even loyal hegemony members began hedging their bets by opening diplomatic channels with potential alternatives. The psychological impact was perhaps more important than the military victory itself. For centuries, the hegemony had maintained control through the perception of invincibility. Their technology seemed so advanced that resistance was futile. Subject species surrendered without fighting because they believed victory was impossible. Earth had shattered that perception completely. The recordings of human weapons tearing through hegemony shields spread through underground networks across the galaxy. Suddenly, the Empire's technological superiority seemed much less impressive. If humans could build weapons that overwhelmed alien defenses, perhaps other species could do the same. High Counselor Vexthanan watched the intelligence reports with growing alarm. Rebellion was brewing on 17 different worlds. 3 independent systems had formed a defensive alliance specifically to resist hegemony expansion. Even within the Empire itself, member species were questioning their loyalty and demanding greater autonomy. The human victory has destabilized our entire political structure, he admitted to his advisors. We must either crush Earth completely or find a way to accommodate them within the existing order. But crushing Earth was no longer a simple matter. Intelligence reports suggested the humans were building additional warships based on their prototype design. A direct assault on their home system would likely result in another devastating defeat for hegemony forces. Worse, such an attack might trigger a general uprising throughout the Empire. The hegemony found itself in an impossible position. They could not defeat Earth militarily without risking total war across the galaxy. But they could not accept human independence without undermining their authority over other subject species. The Empire that had ruled unchallenged for a millennium now faced challenges on multiple fronts. Earth, meanwhile, continued preparing for whatever came next. The Taeguk remained on patrol in the outer solar system, its weapons ready to repel any alien assault. Construction proceeded on additional warships that would give humanity a fleet capable of projecting power beyond their home system. Most importantly, scientists worked to understand and improve the technology that had made their victory possible. "We have fundamentally altered the balance of power in this galaxy," Admiral Park observed during a meeting with Earth's political leaders. "The question now is what we do with that change. The answer would shape not just humanity's future, but the destiny of every species in the galaxy. Earth had proven that the hegemony could be defeated. Now they had to decide whether to use that knowledge to secure their own freedom or to liberate others who suffered under alien rule." Ambassador Shin prepared for another round of negotiations with increasingly desperate hegemony representatives.